Just a quick warning, there's going to be some graphic images in this video. So, hi, my name is Michael, and I've suffered from topical steroid withdrawal for the past 8 years. And this is a part of a series of videos where I share my knowledge and understanding of TSW. And just to show you guys what kind of condition I was in, here are some images from the past 8 years. And this is how I look now. So because there's so many topics to cover, I won't be making these videos in any specific order. And note that I'm not a health professional. None of the content in this video is meant to be health advice. I've compiled my understanding of TSW from reading many medical studies, going through many cases of TSW to learn from other patients' experiences, and from learning through some of the few doctors who specialize in treating TSW. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the doctors who specialize in treating topical steroid withdrawal. And I'll explain a bit of their background, their theories and understanding of TSW, and how they usually treat this condition. It's interesting to note that these doctors developed their own understanding of TSW through their personal experiences of treating many patients and their individual research. So unlike other health conditions, it's not a case where they learned about it from listening to some official medical sources during med school or other presentations. Although there are many differences in their understanding, there are also some common ideas shared between them, so it's especially important that we make note of those. I've probably seen around 20 to 25 doctors during TSW so far. It's been very frustrating to see that almost none of them know anything about TSW and they're not able to treat it at all. It ended up being a big waste of money and time, hoping that maybe one of these doctors can help me. So it's important that we focus on learning from the few doctors that are especially knowledgeable about our condition. I hope that this section can help my fellow TSW sufferers learn from these doctors' understanding of this condition, as well as how they treat it and how their previous patients seem to respond, and so on. So the first one is Dr. Marvin Rapaport. He is a very experienced dermatologist. He's been doing it since the 1960s. He runs a private clinic in Beverly Hills, and also back in the 1960s, he headed the Allergy Contact Dermatology Clinic at UCLA. So he's not only very experienced, but very well regarded. He noticed that many of his patients using topical steroids kept having to increase the dosage and had to use it more and more often. And eventually he figured out that it was not just a case of worsening eczema. Instead, these people were developing a reliance or an addiction to the treatment. The topical steroids were causing the symptoms to worsen. And he has a lot of interviews on YouTube and other websites, but in general, he stated that all of his patients, once they stop using topical steroids, they suffer the painful symptoms, but TSW mostly went away in a few years, no matter what kind of treatment he gave them, or no treatment at all. In his research, Dr. Marvin Rapaport also saw that vasodilation, which is the expanding of blood vessels, was an important mechanism in TSW. Basically, the blood vessels are forced to constrict while you use topical steroids, and which effectively stops the inflammation. But once it's stopped, the blood vessels rebound and dilate uncontrollably. They expand so much that there are tears and leakages in the blood vessels, causing the red sleeve symptoms that we often see in TSW and a lot of inflammation. So he usually prescribes things like antibiotics or even immunosuppressants to deal with the symptoms. But like I said, he doesn't have any specific treatment that can speed up the healing process. His treatments only focus on dealing with the symptoms. The second doctor I'm going to talk about is called Dr.Kenji Sato. He runs a hospital that specializes in treating TSW. This hospital is called Hanan Chuo Hospital, and it's located in Osaka, Japan. He uses this protocol that he designed called NMT, no moisture treatment. It's this protocol where you restrict the amount of liquid intake by measuring the amount of liquid in your foods and your drinks. And this is usually very helpful in decreasing weeping, and also the skin becomes very dry, and it creates this protective barrier that no longer breaks easily like it usually does in TSW. The protocol also involves showering only once every few days and only for a very short amount of time, like around 30 seconds or so, just to wash off the bacteria on the surface of the skin without soaking the dry layer of flaky skin. He also encourages daily exercise. There are dangers to this protocol because you're restricting water intake. And in addition to the water restriction, there must be no moisturizer used, no oils, and no soaking with water or anything like that. The skin must be kept as dry as possible. And it's one of those things where it starts off being quite uncomfortable and painful when you don't moisturize, you don't make it wet at all. But after a few days or a week or so, a lot of patients usually report that it starts feeling a lot better. I'd say that NMT is one of the more popular and one of the more effective treatments out there for TSW. I've read many cases of people feeling like their skin never improved for a really long time, and then once they get into NMT and cut out all the moisturizers, the long baths, and they start doing the water restriction, their skin starts healing very quickly. And there are some groups dedicated to NMT on Facebook, so there's a lot of knowledge and experience shared there. You can also see how other people progressed while doing NMT. So one thing I also want to add though is that although I've seen a lot of sharings where people say they go from being in a bad condition and then doing NMT and then doing very well after a few weeks, few months, I'm also a little bit skeptical of its long-term effects, because I've seen a lot of people mention that they did it for a while and they healed, like they say like they're pretty much normal, but then after a while they either go back to drinking a lot of water and then they start having bad symptoms again, so they have to do NMT again. And I've also seen some cases where those people seem to heal really well after NMT, but after a year or two they get this other flare and then they have to do NMT again. So all I'm saying is that even though it seems to be an effective protocol for TSW, don't expect it to be like that one thing that just cures it. You might have to go back and do it again, or stay on some sort of restriction for quite a while. And now on to Dr. J. So he was the main doctor at a clinic in Singapore called the Skin Health Center, and they use one of the most effective TSW treatments I've seen or used in my 8 years. The treatment itself has several names, but right now they call it Ultra Pulse Contact CAP treatment, CAP treatment. So it's basically this laser treatment that you get on a weekly basis. And I also had this treatment for around 5 months, just around half a year ago, and it's given me some really good results. It's a treatment of their own design, so I can't find much outside information about it, but I've talked to a lot of past patients of these clinics and asked about their experiences about the treatment before I decided to go. So the clinics claim that the laser does several things, including increasing skin proliferation to thicken the skin, killing bacteria and fungus found on the skin, and also some positive effects on the blood vessels. And they've been doing this for over a decade, and now there are also some clinics in the UK and Thailand that offer the same treatment. And I believe that Dr. J has moved back to Thailand, and he's the one running the clinic in Thailand, in Bangkok. So out of all the treatments I've read about for TSW and all these treatments that people try and they talk about, this laser treatment is the one that's a true game changer in my opinion. And even though for some people it's like it has amazing results, there are also some people who just don't benefit from it at all, unfortunately. I've read some people talk about how they also got this treatment, but it didn't help them. So yeah, it's I guess like a lot of us in TSW, we all believe that we have TSW, but we might have slightly differing conditions. But I've also heard from there's this Chinese doctor that I saw in Singapore, and he also had some clients who also went to the laser clinic. And he said that some of those clients had results that were like a miracle. That's how impactful it could potentially be for TSW patients. Unlike most of the other things I tried for treating my TSW, this laser treatment not only gave me the best results, but also lasting results. I haven't had this laser treatment for 6 months, but the benefits have remained. So I encourage you all to look through some of the Instagram accounts of these clinics. I'm gonna just put them on the screen, like Skin Health Center, Skin Solace Clinic. There's like a CJ Serum page, and just they have before and after pictures. You can take a look and just get an idea yourself. And to be clear, I don't have any business relationships with these clinics. Not at all. I don't benefit from talking about them at all, but I just want my fellow TSW sufferers to at least be aware of this one treatment that could really lessen their suffering very quickly. And apart from the treatment itself, Dr. J also has his own set of theory in terms of different stages of TSW, how long it takes to heal based on what class of steroids you used and for how long they were used for. Unfortunately for myself, for my case, it didn't really follow these theories very closely, but you can look for more information online. And also, like Dr. Sato, Dr. J also shares the opinion that using moisturizers during TSW is detrimental to skin healing. It actually makes it worse. So I'm going to finish by briefly talking about one more doctor. So his name is Dr. Fukaya. He is another dermatologist, also from Japan. He no longer treats TSW patients. He now focuses on the cosmetic side of dermatology. But he's had a long experience in treating TSW patients before, so he left behind a blog that talks about his understanding of TSW, and he talks about various related topics as well on this blog. But just to keep it short, he also supports not using moisturizers to improve the skin condition during TSW. Like Dr. J and Dr. Sato, he believes that in general, TSW skin heals much faster if you keep it dry. But he did note that for some patients, they're mentally in such a tough spot that maybe, these taking a long bath or using moisturizers, the very short-term comfort that it gives them mentally might be worth it at times. And lastly, on his website, he offers this serum that's just pure hyaluronic acid. And according to him, this helps our TSW skin not be so inflamed, basically. It improves our skin barrier function. So that's it for this video. These are some of the most experienced and knowledgeable TSW experts out there. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to learn from their experience and their treatments. My name is Michael. I hope that this video can help somebody out there. Good luck.